I was sitting in the parking lot. This was after work. Like, should I do this? Should I not? I was there for like a whole half hour,
Wow.
battling mentally.
What do you think you were afraid of in taking that leap to start a change?
I'm like thinking, if I go to this gym, being with this crowd of individuals who have been here so many times
Right.
and are physically fit, you know, I feel like they'll look at me and think something like, "Oh, look at that fatty over there," right?
As a son of immigrants, JP followed the expected path: get good grades, land a stable job, work hard. And he did all of that. But success came with a price. At 31, JP faced a health scare that would change everything. He had to make a choice: accept the labels that had defined him his whole life, the smart kid, not the athletic type, the one who sits on the sidelines, or take a step outside of the identity he had given himself. Today, we'll talk to JP, who went from weighing his heaviest at 240 pounds to running marathons around the world. What made him choose transformation over comfort? And what can his journey teach us about the choice of redefining ourselves for the better? I'm Aliu Garcia Pablo, and you're listening to Making Changes from incmedia Audio, a podcast about the changes we go through and the life lessons we learn along the way, but always with God by our side.
Hello, JP. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Welcome to Making Changes. And, when we were looking for stories on change, I had seen, because my son is a runner. He's been running ever since high school, and he just recently ran a marathon. And it was
Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I will tell him that. So we have a runner in the family, and I had seen your feed, and I saw you were a runner, but I was so intrigued and surprised when I saw that, number one, you weren't always a runner.
I was not.
And I saw your before photos, and it was almost like a different person. And so we thought, we got to find out JP's story. So tell us, how did you start your journey of change? Where did it begin, and what was your why?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, even when I was growing up, I was really never athletic. Even some of my closest friends will tell you that. I would always be sitting on the sidelines watching them play basketball, volleyball, and whatnot. And that was just never part of who I was before, right? I was more career driven. I focused on making sure that I, spent a lot of time at work to make sure I have, a stable livelihood. But that didn't require a lot of, physical demands.
But growing up, were you, as a kid, were you into sports? Were you active? What were your hobbies growing up?
So growing up, I know my parents would try to get me to be physically active. For example, I did Taekwondo for a certain amount of time. But with Taekwondo, it's like every 30 minutes, every other day, something like that. That's really the only physical activity I had.
Yeah.
I didn't do much, like join others in soccer, basketball, volleyball. I didn't really do any of that. I think at the time I got turned off to it because I knew I wasn't, I'd say, good at those activities.
You weren't the athlete type.
I was not. There was this perception of me like, oh, his nose is always in a book. He's always studying, trying to get A's.
You were a bookworm. You were a nerd. You were...
Exactly. So the world of athletics seemed very foreign to me, even as a kid growing up.
Growing up in the immigrant family, we both come from immigrant families. Was there any emphasis when it came to health?
When it came to health, I would say it's more for, are you happy, healthy, right? Meaning, are you well fed? Are you rested, right? But with that, we don't really think about what are we eating. How much are we eating? We always make sure you finish all the food on your plate.
Yes.
Right?
Lots of rice.
Lots of rice, heavy in the carbohydrates, right? When I got home from school, it was whole plate of rice and a protein, but heavier on the rice and sauces, right?
Yes.
But the definition of healthy, I believe, not only for my family, it's like, make sure you're not hungry.
That was the only goal.
Make sure you fill up. Don't go to bed hungry. Don't go to school hungry. All of that. That's what healthy for me growing up was more about. And it's not wrong. Our parents worked hard to raise us here, make sure that the family doesn't go hungry. And now we're just making sure that we continue on that.
So how did that catch up to you? How do you think those unhealthy habits, how did that finally catch up?
With the stresses of a desk job, computer job, you look at hours on the screen. I turn to food for comfort, right? Especially in a corporate setting, folks have put in like a communal table, a bunch of snacks,
Yes.
high in sugar, high in salt. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go for that, and I'll take a few bites. But then a few bites become big bites within a half-hour time frame. Then a half hour, 1 hour, and it just adds up.
You're just eating
exactly.
and then sitting back down and just not moving.
And it's because, as I mentioned, it was that comfort for me that I had from, getting food. And even growing up, I found comfort, in home cooking and snacks, all of that.
You mentioned comfort a lot. Why do you think you were looking for comfort? What was missing?
So the stresses that came, whether it be, from my job, making sure I tend to everything in my life. For me, the equivalent is if something just, fills my belly, so to speak, it would make me at least at ease. Right? And
so
I
comfort
can carry
food.
On. It's literal comfort food.
There's a photo of you I want to show you here.
Okay.
And that you had posted this
Yes.
on your social media.
Oh boy.
Right? So tell me about who was this, not the guy on the other side, but who is this? Who is this JP here?
Yeah. So this is the JP that I was describing. A lot of stress at work, making sure that he made enough for his family. And it's a demanding job, commuting in and out of the city. And this clearly shows that comfort food was like at the top of the list to kind of get me through my days, right? But
was this JP happy?
Looking back, he was trying to find happiness for sure. So when I I kept alluding to finding comfort food. There are probably moments where I'm not at my best, in terms of mentally. There are moments of sadness for whatever reason. I turn to food, and I'm like, okay, that's some momentary point of satisfaction for me, right? So I would say this JP was trying to find happiness, but just could not pinpoint it, what it would be to make him happy.
How many? Do you mind me asking how heavy were you here?
So my heaviest was at between 235 to 240 at the time. Yeah, it was pretty heavy at the time.
How many pounds ago was that from where you are now?
That's about 70 to 80 at this moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's another person.
It is another person, a child.
When you think back, though, before we go to your transformation, to your process of change, when you think about that JP who was 70 to 80 pounds, and you said you were looking for happiness, but you, career-wise, you were set, you were making good money. What was causing the sadness, do you think?
I mean, at face value, someone with a good career, making very good living, right? As one would say, you think he has it, right? But being around friends who themselves are, physically active, they'd say, "Hey, come play soccer with us, play volleyball with us." I had to say no because I kept looking back and thinking, I'm scared of perception. I grew up not being, athletic. JP is not meant to be an athlete. That's kind of
so you limited yourself. That's not you. You were the JP that was smart, successful, but not an athlete.
I would say so. Yeah, yeah. But it's just that part, not being physically active.
Yeah,
it drove a lot of sadness in hindsight for me.
Tell me more.
Because I'm like, I want to play with them because I want to participate, in all the activities that they're doing. But I know I'll always fall short. I know I don't have that dexterity, to at least contribute to the team. Right. And those thoughts led into, let me back off and let them do their thing. Right?
It's not for me.
It's not for me. But that converted to this point of sadness for me. Like it's like what ifs, what could have been.
And so what was the catalyst of change for you?
So right before the pandemic, I noticed I was at work. I remember like getting some chest pains
Oh
every now and then.
no.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
no.
So I'm like, I better get this checked out. Thankfully, not to the point that I had to go into the ER or anything.
Hmm.
So I went to the doctor, got some blood work done,
And
and
you're how old at this time?
I'm 36. Oh, at the time,
Mm.
I was about 31, 32
Okay,
at the
fairly
time,
young still. Uh-huh.
right? So when I went to the doctor, they called me back and they said, "Hey, these are your results. You're at high risk of diabetes. You're at high risk of hypertension. Essentially, every bad thing in the medical book."
And every typical thing a Filipino man would get.
That is really true. High cholesterol and all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the doctor said, "Listen, many folks, like even in our generation, that happens to us a lot, especially from those who come from immigrant families. But the thing is, it's up to us now. Where do we go from here?" Right? That's what the doctor told me. He was trying to give me life advice
Hope.
and hope at the same time.
Yeah.
And I sat there like, oh wow, this is really serious. He's saying that I might cut my life much shorter if I don't make a change, right? So I kept thinking, what can I do? Because I'm busy. I have a job, and
Yeah.
I have matters to attend to. So because of that, I'm thinking, okay, let me try small first.
Yeah.
So why don't I try looking up diets here and there that might work? Because that's one way to start. That's when I learned about diets like the ketogenic diet, paleo diet, things like that. Maybe I should start there, right? So I figured, okay, nutrition's first. Little things throughout the day, replacing rice with a vegetable instead, being heavier on like meats and fats, I guess,
Protein.
and protein.
Good fats.
Right. And then I thought, okay, there needs to be something to complement this too. So there's a gym, near my house. I figured membership is not that expensive per month. Why don't I just sign up, right? I'll say this. When I went to the gym, I had this feeling of, I don't belong here.
Here you go again with the belonging.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because it's so, what's the word? It's so intimidating
yeah.
being around folks
with
who,
these big muscles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not that. I'm just big.
Okay, so you're like, oh, this isn't for me.
Exactly. I remember though, the day that I went, I was sitting in the parking lot. This was after work. Like, should I do this? Should I not? I was there for like a whole half hour,
Wow.
battling mentally,
Self-doubts.
a lot of self-doubt. So after thinking about it for a little bit, and
What do you think you were afraid of, though? Aside from this isn't me,
Mhm.
what do you think you were afraid of in taking that leap to start a change? Like, if you dig deeper, what were the fears about?
Well, the number one in my mind, I mentioned perception. I guess growing up, what others say about me was a big deal, especially from our culture,
Yes.
right? How you look, what you do in your life, things like that.
Going back to that, did you get a lot of the aunties and the uncles saying, "Hey, I'm JP and Tabamo,
All the time.
you're JP, you're big."
All the time. It's such a constant thing. The comments coming from family members,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You're supposed to take that to heart too.
Yes.
It may not mean a lot to them, but as the recipient of the comments, that hits you, right? And then growing up wouldn't just be from family members; it would be from friends, from school, or others.
So basically, this is the identity that they gave you. Oh, JP is the big kid, he's the big boy, and you just stuck to it because you're like, well, that's what they all know me for anyway.
Exactly. Growing up with that conditioned mindset.
Yeah.
Just thinking, that's how I've been. So going back to being in the parking lot, I'm like thinking, if I go to this gym, being with this crowd of individuals who have been here so many times and are physically fit, I feel like they'll look at me and think something like, oh, look at that fatty over there, right?
Even though no one's looking at you and no one's thinking about anyone else but themselves looking in the mirror.
Exactly, because that's how they are, right?
Hey, real quick. If you've ever struggled with how you see your body or felt like you'll never be enough, I think you'll really connect with this episode of Faith Speaks. It's called Overcoming Body Image Issues. Michelle shares what it was like growing up with body shame and how an eating disorder took over her life. But what changed everything? Her faith. She talks about how God's words helped quiet that harsh inner voice and taught her to see herself the way He does. It's honest, it's powerful, and it might just be what you need to hear.
It's undeniable love. Thank you.
Watch it now on incmedia.org. The link is in our show notes.
When I was sitting there in my car, I'm like, let me do a quick prayer.
Mm.
You know, help me figure, something out to better my life. Should I do this or not? Right. And then I thought about it, looking at what people post on social media. They post themselves.
Mhm.
They've been through transformations themselves.
Mhm.
And I've seen before and after. We've all seen before and after pictures of
Yes.
these fitness influencers.
Yes.
And I thought, you know what? They technically started somewhere, like where I am. So why don't I just take a leap forward and try it out? So I went in, signed up for a gym membership, and then started to go like probably once a week at 1st,
Mhm.
small doses, right? And
Small habits.
small habits, right? Go there, lift weights, and
How long would you go for?
Probably like 45 minutes, half
That's
an
pretty
hour.
good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
pretty good. But then here's the thing: start 45 minutes, and then when I got a bit too tired, there's some days where I'm just there for like 15 minutes, 10 minutes even, just to say that I went to the gym.
You went, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But when I was there, the one piece of equipment, even if it's 10 minutes, that I would gravitate towards, the treadmill,
Mm.
just because it's easily accessible. I know how to operate it.
Did you start to feel a physical difference in how you felt?
Yes. When they say that you work out, you release these endorphins.
Endorphins, yeah.
Right? I felt that.
Mm.
Even if it's for 10 or 15 minutes, I would break a sweat and I keep on thinking, I just did that. And I think everyone who works out should have that feeling of happiness once you complete a workout.
Small wins.
It's small wins. And a lot of people need to celebrate those small
And
wins.
what about your mood? What difference did you see in your mental health from there?
I think because it was an easily digestible physical activity, I saw that being a successful at least point for me whenever I'm at the gym, because I'm able to achieve, walking on an incline, doing light jogs here and there, covering a distance, no matter what the distance is, very short distances. For me, I'm like, yes, I did that. That made me happy.
How did you get yourself to keep going?
One of the biggest problems, especially for me, is finding time to work out. I would go when it was convenient for me. And then I remember, I forgot who it was, but it was an influencer, right? Who said, listen, we all have busy lives, but you need to make time to work out. So that spoke to me. I thought I really need to block off time to go to the gym. Even though I would work late, I thought the best time, wake up early, hit the gym in the morning before work.
They say that our willpower is highest in the morning.
Yes.
Do you believe that?
At first it wasn't. I just wanted to keep on sleeping and stay in bed.
Yeah. It's more
many people.
comfortable.
Exactly.
And your diet, how did that affect how you ate?
My diet. So when it came to my diet, I realized I can't starve myself. I thought, okay, let me cut back on a few things. It started off with bread, right? And
You cut out bread.
I cut out bread at first, yes. Then from the bread, it grew to like salads just for lunch, right? I would then eat whatever for dinner because I was still thinking I should end my day feeling comfortable.
Because of what you grew up with.
Exactly.
Don't go to bed hungry.
Exactly.
How does someone go from loving carbs to then, was it overnight? Was it cold turkey to be able to say, I'm going to cut that out of my diet and have the discipline to keep doing that?
I actually started doing cold turkey.
Mm.
But when I did cold turkey, meaning for like a week or two, the hunger pangs for wanting bread was too much.
Wow.
Yeah, they were
you
too much.
shocked your body.
Exactly. And I thought, okay, you know what? Why don't we just pull it back every other day?
Mm.
Start there. Right?
So you really did it in increments.
It had to be incremental
Yeah.
because of the experience I had with just sudden shocks
Yeah.
of taking things out completely from my
Yeah.
diet.
So now how do you go from being on the treadmill 10 to 45 minutes, being choosy with what you eat? How do you end up go from there to now running marathons?
That was actually quite a long journey in itself. So I would say when I went to the gym, I hit the treadmill. I would do like 45-minute sessions, probably just like a mile or two.
Mhm.
Then I would be there for an hour. That would, at the time, would reach me like 3 miles or
Mhm.
so. And then it grew to me challenging myself. Okay, why don't I do a whole 15 minutes of running,
Straight.
walk for a minute?
Uh-huh,
Exactly.
uh-huh.
I guess the impetus to me actually running races, it was from a coworker who said, "Hey, you run, right?" I said, "Just on the treadmill." "Well, there's like a 5K that the companies are sponsoring. Would you like to join?" And immediately I thought, no, because it's a public event.
Mm.
Others are there. I'm not too sure if I'm ready to run a 5K. Right?
There's a self-doubt creeping in again.
Exactly. It's always there. And I remember my coworker and another one saying, just try it out. We're all going to run together. So when the 5K came, low expectations, right?
Did you run the whole thing or you just ran walk?
I ran walk
Uh-huh.
that first race. And I remember, staying with my coworkers like for the first mile or two. And then I decided, okay, you guys go ahead. I got to walk this out. And they said, are you sure? Yeah, just go ahead. I wanted to digest it, right? I just wanted to make sure that I'm okay to finish off the last like 1.2 miles. And then I remember like the energy from the crowds, because this took place in New York City, right?
Wow.
In downtown in New York City. And I remember the cheers from the crowds, and I thought, that's really cool, right?
Yeah.
And,
And then strangers giving you high fives.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know these people, right?
Yeah.
Give me high fives. So that gave me a mental boost. Like, you know what? Let me keep going. So I finished the remaining distance of that race, and I crossed the finish line. I looked at my time, and, I mentioned like I did like 3 miles, like 50 minutes. I did this within 35 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, you know what? This is really fun. So I met up with my coworkers. We gave each other high fives.
So now this is what month or year into your journey? By the time you did the 5K, or from that time you first came out of the doctor's office to your 5K, how long
It was about a year.
About a year.
About a year in.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that was about a year in.
So now you're just high on life because you just crossed the finish line, finished your first race. What now?
At that point when I said, oh, that felt good, right? I'm just crossing the finish line. Already there is this kind of voice in my head saying, hey, what's next for you, right? So I started to explore some other races that my coworkers wanted to try out as well. And, we did a few. And then because I got so used to those races, I kept thinking, you know what? What if I increase the 5K to a 10K? So I found some races in the New York City area, did its 10K, thought that was great in itself, and then kept getting more curious. Okay, I could handle the 10K. Half marathon is just twice that distance. Can I challenge myself to be ready for a half marathon?
So now this whole process is you're like, I'm going to do 5K. I think I can do more. What happened to the voices, the self-doubt voices?
So there were remnants of them still. I can still like hear them, hear voices like saying, people still perceive you as the big kid, and all of that. But they weren't as loud as before.
Do you think that the voices, the self-doubt voices started to quiet down because you actually were replacing your thoughts with goals?
Yes. Because now that I had goals of distances, the types of races, that I would sign up for, it's like I actually now set up something to look forward to that would erase the old JP in essence.
The self-doubt voices didn't have as much space anymore in your brain as it did before.
Exactly. So the reason why I decided to pursue the marathon, you hear about the New York City Marathon.
It's hard to get into.
It's known as a world marathon major.
Right.
There are people around the world that just fly in to run in New York City.
But they have to qualify.
But they have to qualify. They get into to qualify or through charity or the ballot process. And then there's this fourth option where if you do a certain number of races, then you'll be able to, participate. So I thought, you know what? The marathon distance is twice the challenge of the 13.1 miles that I put for myself. Maybe if I give myself enough time, I can try it out, right? So I did, and I thought, okay, I have all this time now to prepare for the marathon. During that time, my curiosity got piqued. I remember seeing the London Marathon pop up on my feed, and it said, enter now, see if you can get in. And then fast forward another month, I got an email. And usually, if you get emails like that, majority of the time,
to say sorry.
Try next time or qualify or whatever. I opened up the one for London, and it says, you got accepted. And I thought, wow, okay.
Now you got to do it.
Now I got to do it. And remember, New York City Marathon is November of 23. And I thought, when is London? April of 2023. So that 1 year of training,
gone.
It's now 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
So I had to accelerate it. At the same time, my family has always wanted to go to London.
Oh,
So-
made it a family trip.
Exactly. We made it a whole trip too at the same time.
I noticed in a lot of your posts, your dad is with you.
Yes.
Is there a symbolism with that?
Yeah, there is. Growing up, he always made sure that me, my sisters, were all taken care of, right? When the going gets tough, I could always turn to him, right? Homework, I ask for his help. And whenever I need to get to school, even when I didn't have a car for work, he would help me, right? So for him to be, there, for me, it's like, let me return the favor. So London Marathon happened in April of 23. And I was training, obviously, for New York City during that summer of 23. It was over the summer that I found out my dad had cancer. And it progressed already to an advanced stage. And it was a shock, to say the least.
Yeah.
The one who, leads our household is diagnosed, and you would think it would never happen to you. You hear about statistics all the time.
Yes.
But for it to literally hit close to home, it was a shock to me, right? And of course to our entire family. And it was challenging. It was challenging. I actually, because of that, sometimes I found myself going back to habits of, let me get some like a snack here and there, just because it's it's too much to bear.
Comfort food.
Comfort food, exactly. So those bits and pieces of my old self were still there. But it was definitely a big challenge for us.
How did your dad's diagnosis help you fully decide to really continue on and thrive in this health journey that you were on?
I remember being at the hospital one time with my dad, right? And I told him, I went for a run this morning because we got to visit him while he was staying there. I remember he told me when we were there, just make sure you keep running, keep on going, because you're doing a good job, right? And that touched me.
That
really touched
means
me.
a lot when, culturally, parents normally don't say that they're proud of you.
Right. But then I kind of saw a similarity with the way he told me to keep going with how I would treat my own faith too when it came to going to church. That he knows.
What was that similarity that JP saw in his love for running and life? And more important, how has it prepared him for whatever happens in the future? To find out, make sure to listen to the full episode on Spotify. Scan the QR code to go there directly.